Hello fellow lovers of the liminal and the weird, and welcome to another video by Liminal Spaces. Today we are going to be talking about what I feel is probably the weirdest, most liminal horror novel I think I've ever read, and that is The House on the Borderland by William Hope Hodgson. This was absolutely incredible. I had never heard of this, and Jake at Pulp Mortem did a review of it, and the more he talked about it, the more I was like, wow, that sounds really incredible and right up my alley. And the next day, after I'd seen Jake's video, I went to the Albuquerque Annual Antiquarian Book Fair, and while I was there, I saw it on somebody's table, and it was there for $8, and I picked it up. Later, Richard at Vintage SF did a video about it. He read it. I think he texted me right away as he was reading it and said, this is something you need to read. Truly the definition of liminality, and they're both right. If you think my recommendations hold any water, read this. You will absolutely love it. This is cosmic horror on steroids. This is liminality at its most hallucinatory. This was incredible. So, quick synopsis. Two men decide to go on a fishing trip way out in the way it's described is kind of the middle of nowhere in Ireland. And they have a guide that drops them off. Right away they realize they don't speak the language. They can't really talk to local people at all. But they start to have a connection with them by fishing and sharing their catches and so on and so forth. They just can't really speak to each other. But anyway, one day they decide to follow the river and see how far they can follow it. And they follow it until the river goes underground. And they're like, wait a minute, the water has to come out somewhere. Let's keep walking this way and see if we can't find it. So they walk and they find this huge rift in the ground. And it's filled with water and greenery, and there's this kind of offshoot of stone that goes out in the middle of this rift. And on it is this old house that is in ruins. Really beautifully described, strange area for a house to be. They walk to the house. It's a little precarious, a little bit scary, but they walk to the house and they are looking around in the ruins, and they discover a manuscript. And this manuscript turns out to be the main part of this book. And this is when everything gets really strange. So there's a man that buys this old house, and he and his sister live there. He's heard the history of this house, that it's like an evil house. Somehow somebody connected with the house made some kind of deal or did some magic or something. It never really goes into it. He just knows that there's a curse on this house, and he gets it for cheap because of that. And he has his sister live with him, and she and he don't really talk. She kind of takes care of him, makes his meals, but they don't really ever talk. He seems very isolated in this house. And he's like, yeah, I lived there for a while and nothing really weird happened. And then one day the candles were burning, and suddenly all the candlelight turned blue. And then it turned red. And then I started floating. And I floated up and up away from the house. And I floated away from Earth. And he floats further and further into the universe. And he comes to what I can only describe as an area that is the negative of where he just was. He comes to an Earth where the sun is black and rimmed with a light of fire, a ring of fire around it. And here he sees on this vast plain an exact copy of his house. And then he starts floating again, and he returns he goes back kind of the way he came, and he comes back to his house. But as he comes down, he can see that there are all these kind of ancient gods staring down at his house, at this house on the Borderland. And I'm reading this thinking, my God, this started as a haunted house story. And it is so incredible. It just knocks the wind out of you because it's not what you're expecting at all. This is not a house haunted by ghosts. This is a house that is haunted by cosmic terror. This is a liminal house that is simultaneously in two places. And the hallucinatory prose, the way that William Hope Hodgson describes this weird cosmic journey to this other Earth that the main character takes is incredible. There's no amount of praise that I can give this that will be enough to describe to you how well written this is. It is, in my opinion, a must read. So after he awakes back home after this great journey and realizes, and this got a little bit confusing to me, I feel like he's back a day, which is really, really strange, but it might be a day has passed. Anyway, time did not work normally while he was on this journey. And at this point, when this manuscript's being written, the house is not in the same position as it is when the two fishermen find it. It's not out on an outcropping in the middle of this rift. It's on a plain. But a rift is slowly being formed. And that is kind of what this novel deals with, is the everyday life of this guy living in this strange place. The novel takes a turn here where pig creatures start trying to invade his house, and we get this chunk of the novel that is kind of this him protecting his house from home invasion. And for me, I was a tiny bit let down. It's funny because I recently watched Jake's review again, and this I think was Jake's favorite part of the novel, and my favorite part of the novel, which is coming next, he wasn't a big fan of, and we're the opposite in that, is that I felt like the introduction of this novel was so good that a man fighting off pig creatures trying to get into his house didn't hold my interest as much as the earlier cosmic journey. But this is the pig home invasion part is tiny compared to the whole novel. Cosmic travel comes back in, and I'm going to stop there with the synopsis. This is 100% worth it. You absolutely should read this novel. I can't recommend this enough. It was so much fun to read. Let's look for a minute at the publication history of this book. So the original version of this was published in 1908, and it was published by the publishers Chapman and Hull. And I was recently reading, there's a blog, a William Hope Hodgson blog, and I was recently reading that the story of this particular manuscript, which I think was called The Mysterious House. But anyway, it was rejected over and over again, which doesn't surprise me. This is some cutting edge stuff for 1908. Really, I'm surprised it was ever published, and I'm so glad it was, because it was so ahead of its time and so good. So yeah, he had to shop this around for a long time, and apparently Chapman and Hall didn't even want to publish it right away at first. They went through a lot of manuscripts with him until he got this, what they felt, in publication order. After that, it was published by Holden and Hardingham in 1921. And that's the first time you get a jacket with art on it. You can see this guy looking out the window at this pig creature. No cover artist that I can see on that. And then Arkham House released it, and this is probably the most famous version of this particular book. This is the version I would love to get someday. I hope to get this Arkham House version. And of course that is Hannes Bach that's doing that art on the front cover there. And then Ace released it in this version, which honestly, I think I like the cover art on this a little bit better than the Hannes Bach one. And the cover art on this one is by Ed M. Schwiller. And that's incredible. You can see his cosmic journey floating towards the house in the negative world there, with the sun being a black hole with fire around it. And you can also see all the gods standing around looking down at the house. Really, really wonderful cover art. It's interesting because he also wrote a book called The Nightland, which I have a copy of. Not the copy I want. I would like the 2-volume Ballantine version. That's the one that I really want. Someday I'll get it. But anyway, I've heard both good and bad things about Nightland, but I do plan on reading it. I really do. This was so incredible that I absolutely have to check out other stuff by William Hope Hodgson. I know he does a lot of nautical horror as well. He was an interesting guy. I'm not going to do a biography on him now, but yeah, he was an interesting guy. I know that he, for a long time, I think he was in the Navy. I can't remember. But anyway, the ocean terrified him, so he does a lot of nautical horror as well. Either way, this is a contender for the top spot of the year. This was such a good read. I had so much fun. I was jumping up and down while I read this. It was so good. I highly recommend you read it as well. I am going to be doing a deep read on this, which you can find in a couple of days. And that's really it for now. Go read this. You'll love it. All right. Thank you so much for watching.